Hey, hi everybody. I want to thank you for inviting me into your home. I wish I could be there with you in New Mexico, but it's a little far from Cape Cod. And I'm excited that there's some young girls in your room to speak to, because this is a topic that we need to know and understand. And the younger we can catch on to this, the better off we're going to be throughout our lives, the more God can use us, because our woundedness won't be so deep. So those of you that don't know me, I'm Catrina Welch. I am an image coach and a life coach here on the Cape, and I love to minister to women to help them to figure out which style of beauty they are, and I love to help them understand that beauty battle that makes it so hard for us sometimes to be who we were designed to be. So we're going to talk about the spiritual side of that beauty battle today, and I'm excited about that. But Kelly, would you mind introducing your friends first?
Sure. I'm Kelly Ann. I'm the pastor of this small Torah study. This is Karen here, and then this is Susan. And then I have my granddaughter and her Karen as well, who are both 11. And so they're here all listening. And in the background, my dog, which we may hear on occasion. So.
Well, I've had a few people knocking at my door since we're trying to set this up, so let's hope we can do this without interruption. But hey, it's pretty cool to be able to do it over the internet. So, all right, well, let's just dive in. Does that sound all right?
Okay.
I'm going to share with you one of the hardest scriptures that I know. Ezekiel 16 is a very strong word from God directly to his people about beauty, and not just about beauty, but about faithfulness. And so if we can just take a kind of a brief look at it, because there's a lot to it, there's a lot of details, but I just want to show you how God sees beauty, because I'm telling you, when I learned this, then when I saw this scripture and God opened my eyes to what he was trying to say about women and beauty, I was totally liberated. My whole world changed because of this one chapter in the Bible. And so I love to share it with people. In my book, there's several chapters on this one chapter in the Bible. And it's life-changing, in my opinion. But when you just read it, it's like almost offensive. It talks first about an abortion, and then it talks about shame and not being wanted. It talks about being married to the King of Kings. And then it talks about giving up and becoming prideful and selling her beauty. So it just represents the beauty battle so well that I love to just take it and break it down and help other women to see what I saw that over the years and how much it has helped a lot of people. So in the very beginning, in chapter 16, verse 5, these are God's words to his people. He says, "No one had the slightest interest in you." This is the New Living Translation. "No one pitied you or cared for you in the day you were born. You were unwanted and dumped in a field and left to die. But I came by and I saw you there helplessly kicking about in your own blood. As you lay there, I said, live." It sounds so harsh and horrible, but you know what? There are so many women who feel, girls, especially girls, that feel as if they're not wanted, as if they were a mistake. You know, mom and dad might say something, maybe they don't even mean it to be harsh, and maybe it's a complete truth, but we can read it as a rejection. You know, if mom said, "Oh, I didn't know I was going to have you, I hadn't planned for you," and her heart is maybe, you know, what a wonderful surprise. But what a little girl might still hear, whether it's truth or not, is, "I didn't want you, you were a mistake." And so that's a battle that a lot of women have to face. A lot of boys do as well. We all want to know that we're wanted. And I love that this scripture shows that whether our dad and mom wanted us or not, God did. He's the one that makes conception happen. It has nothing really to do with a man or woman. Because think of how many infertile people there are. It's in God's hands. It's in God's hands. And if you were conceived, you were wanted. And that's a vital truth that we all need to hold on to. It talks about her growing up and hitting puberty, and then in verse 8, it says, "I passed by you again, and I saw that you were old enough to love. So I wrapped my cloak around you to cover your nakedness, and I declared my marriage vows. I made a covenant with you, says the sovereign Lord, and you became mine." I love that. So many times we're struggling in our lives. We don't know that God's really intervening. We don't know that he's saying to our crisis, live. He's telling us, supporting us behind the scenes, and we don't even recognize it. But at whatever point in our lives, when we're old enough, that we are mature enough to handle the commitment that he wants to make to us, and we actually accept the commitment that he already made. When we accept that he loves us and that he wants us and that is enough, then it's like a marriage vow. And he takes us as if we are his bride, and we're called the bride of Christ, right? So I love that example of how much he's intervening even when we don't get it. Even when we think we're the outcast, he's loving on us. But this is the best part, I think. What does he do from there? The next verse, it talks all about how he washed her and he put perfumes on her and he gave her nice clothing and fine shoes and quality, beautiful things. He gave her jewelry and bracelets and necklaces and rings and earrings and a crown for her head. He adorned her because he loved her. And beauty has a way of healing. So when we're feeling hurt and outcast and rejected, sometimes just getting beautiful is a way of just feeling better. And when somebody lavishes beauty on you, that's just a one. So in verse 13, he says, "And so you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were made of fine linen and costly fabric, and you were beautifully embroidered. You ate of the finest foods, choice flour, honey, and olive oil, and became more beautiful than ever. You looked like a queen, and so you were. Your fame soon spread throughout the world because of your beauty. I dressed you in my splendor and perfected your beauty, says the sovereign Lord." See, so often as Christians, we think, oh, it's wrong to be beautiful. I don't want to be vain. I don't want to bring attention to myself. We're supposed to die to self. We're supposed to be, behind the scenes. Are you freezing? Am I freezing?
No, you're good. Sorry.
Okay. So I think there's a big confusion that we have a lot of times as Christians, that God doesn't want us to be beautiful. And that's such a twisted truth. Yes, it's true that beauty is vain and it's fleeting and it doesn't stick around and we do grow wrinkles. But that's the word vain there means fleeting. It's not wrong. It's just not something to chase after. It's not worthy to chase after, but it doesn't make it wrong. So we've got to find God's heart towards beauty if we want to have freedom in it, right? Well, in verse 15, this is the epitome of God's heart towards beauty. Verse 15, "But you thought your fame," oh, no, I missed it. It was the verse we already read, sorry. Verse 14, "Your fame soon spread throughout the world because of your beauty. I dressed you in my splendor, and perfected your beauty, says the Lord." I just see that as his total contentment, such pleasure. He is so happy that his bride is beautiful and she's become famous because of her beauty. People look at her and they feel comfort. They feel refreshed. They feel like the healing is happening when they're around her. They want to be around her. That's what beauty is supposed to be. Our beauty is supposed to draw people to the one who created us. But in the next verse, see, This is beauty and balance in verse 14. In all the verses before, it's beauty hiding, but now it's in balance. And one verse later, it's way out of balance again. It becomes prideful. So she starts thriving for her beauty. She chases after it, becomes very important to her. Because you see, beauty has this, I hate to use a word lightly, but it's like an addiction. It's exciting. It's to feel that power that somebody noticed us. It's exciting when a guy turns his head and, wow, she's cute, you know. That is something inside of us that we want as women, but it's not wrong, but it is addictive. We have to be careful not to let it become something that we're chasing after. We want the response that God has. Oh, I'm so pleased with your beauty. You're drawing people to me. We don't want the response that he has after that, where he says, oh, girl, you became so vain. You just gave away your beauty to anyone. It gets very gory and very detailed, the scriptures as it goes on here. But basically, she becomes a prostitute. And she doesn't just flash her body before all the guys to make them look. She starts giving away her body. She's selling her body. And then she's not only just selling it, she's giving payment to her lovers. Like, she's beyond a prostitute. And you look at how bad God's heart is about that. He's disgusted with the way she just gives away the beauty that he had given her. In verse 22, in all your years of adultery and detestable sin, you have not once remembered the days long ago when you lay naked in a field, kicking about in your own blood. Yeah, verse 25, on every street corner, you defiled your beauty, offering your body to every passerby in endless streams of prostitution. There's a lot in there, and it's kind of gory, and most of those 11-year-olds in your room are going to want to hear it all. But basically, God becomes really upset at her because it's an ugly thing when we're striving for beauty. Beauty in balance is the only thing beautiful. It is not beautiful to hide our beauty and think that we are not worth anything and that we're embarrassed by ourselves and we're no good. But it's also not beautiful to think we are, all that. Everything centered around us, that people should notice us all the time. That's not beautiful. What's beautiful is beauty that takes care of herself and then forgets about herself. So I was a cosmetologist for 30 years, and I've been an image consultant for 20 years. And my passion is helping the women find the balance. Because in all those years, standing behind a mirror, taking care of other women, I have seen very few women who can look at herself with peace and confidence. And so usually the response is look at herself because she can't stand how she looks, or she can't take her eyes off herself because it's so important to her that she looks good. So finding that balance is not an easy thing. And I've figured out throughout the years that there's 6 different styles, and they all handle that challenge differently. And if we can understand, first of all, that we're not the only style of person, so we don't have to look like the other styles, that's so liberating in itself. But then understanding that, you know what, some of these girls, it's more important to them. They're more sensitive about things, and some of them are just strong and nothing bothers them. So if you can understand that, it's a lot like learning someone's personality. There's some that are introverts and there's some that are extroverts, and understanding that, hey, my friend is an extrovert and she's going to shout out, and I'm I'm not going to be embarrassed by that because that's who she is, and I'm fine with that. I'm different, right? I'm sure everyone here has been through some kind of personality test. It's liberating. Well, this is called clothing personality, and there's 6 different styles. So I'm just want to go over them really kind of quick. There's so much to them. We could go on and on. I have no idea what our timing is like. So if we're getting close to the end, cut me off before so I can I'll try to finish up. But first, I want to start with the 3 strong styles. That sound all right?
Yes, I
So
have.
there's
I
the gamine. What? Am I?
Oh, no,
Are we
you're
okay?
fine. I just had it on mute so that you couldn't hear the dog barking.
Should I start over?
No, go ahead. We're up at Gammy. We're right with you.
Okay. All right. So I like to start with the gamine because I think Eve was a gamine, because she's the kind of girl when the snake came up to Eve and said to her, "Hey, why can't you eat all those fruits? Why can't you eat off of all the fruit trees?" She was like, "Wait a minute, something's not right here." Well, a gamine, if something's not right, will take charge and fix it. Okay, so, or she'll tell someone else to take charge and fix it. So she took charge. She took the fruit and she ate it, and she talked her husband into doing the same. Well, that's how gamines are. They're very persuasive. They make great salespeople. They're great cheerleaders. They're great. They're great in the medical field. They're great coaches. They can tell somebody what to do. They're very good at that. But when it comes to the beauty battle for them, they tend to, their challenge is more on the hiding side. So there's striving and there's hiding. So hiding is more the way that a gamine will go, but that's not the only way she will go. Most of us will go back and forth between both sides. But if a gamine is defeated, if somebody's really hard on her, she usually will fight back. But she may want to prove her worth in the beauty field and get caught up in all how she looks. But most often she's going to have the response of, "If I want to dress up, I'll dress up. You're not going to tell me to dress up." And she'll do it when she wants. She's very much in control of her own life and very often other people's lives. She's very very good at parenting, keeping good tabs on her children and all. The classic is another style. So the gamine, I use the calla lily because the calla lily is a strong flower. It tends to come up out of the ground with its leaves first, and not its flower. So that's how a gamine can be. Sometimes you're like, what is she trying to say? And then the beauty comes out. It's got a lot of color, and the gamine should wear a lot of color. In fact, they should wear at least 3 colors every day, and the colors should be very strong and different from each other. So black and white, and then a yellow or a red or another very strong color. That's how the gamine, her beauty will come alive with color. And her fabric should hold their shape, just like this flower is. It's got a form to it. It's not going to flop over. Her fabric should be the same way. They should hold their. The classic is basically what it says. It's the timeless style. A lot of professional looks, jackets and tailored pants, and the classic is all off. The flower often is a classic example of beauty, right? We use a flower, the rose, as a gift of beauty very often. The rose takes a while to open up, and so does the classic. When she's young, she's very, very private. She's got thorns that protect her. She's very independent. She stands alone. She goes after her dreams. She's no problem being disciplined. She'll go on. She'll work out regularly. She will take her vacations when she's earned them. She'll take care of her money. She's very organized. Her house might not quite be, because she does have a hard time making decisions. So a lot of times the finished product doesn't quite happen for her because she's waiting for it to be perfect. She has to find that right perfect choice before she actually makes that choice. So that can be a challenge for her. But when she opens up as she matures, she is the most fragrant, a great woman that you can go to, because she goes after education. She wants to be educated. So she's a good person to go to for advice. She's full of wisdom. And she's not afraid to give advice, but she does not very often offer it unless you ask for it. So in the Bible, I think Mary was a classic. She made a great mother of the Messiah. I mean, who would you want to raise your child but somebody that follows the rules? The classics follow the rules. They're disciplined, so they're not afraid to work real hard and get the education they need. So I use Mary. I think Mary, the mother of Christ, was a classic. They also are okay with everybody else talking about them because they're just whatever, it's their problem. The other strong personality is the natural. I use a wildflower for a natural because she's kind of a very carefree kind of girl, very casual. She really doesn't care about fashion. She just wants to be comfortable. She's very faithful, very conservative, very hardworking, a gentle spirit. She's strong though. Like if you, all right, so I use Abigail. I think Abigail in the Bible was a natural because she had an abusive husband, and yet she just handled it. She just dealt with him the way you should deal with somebody who's mistreating you. She basically looked at it like, he's got the problem, and look what he's done now. He's risked my family's life when David came and asked for help, and he basically he threatened David, and David was coming to the whole family, and she rescued them. I'm sure you know the story of Abigail. I think it's Samuel. It's in my book, Confident Beauty. There's a whole chapter on Abigail and how she must have been a sporty, natural woman. She just jumped on that donkey. She grabbed all her food and she just rode off into the wind. She didn't care if her hair was up. She just got to do what you got to do. And she took care of matters. And God blessed her. She got to marry that king after her husband died because of a heart attack. See, that's the other thing. He was abusive to her, right? And she still dealt with him with respect and honor. She didn't say, "You fool, you just like destroyed our whole family. I saved you." No, she just did what she had to do. She knew he was drunk, and it wouldn't be appropriate to tell him now. So she just dealt with it. She rescued her whole family. She went back home and she saw that he's in no condition to speak to. So she waited till morning and she told him, "Hey, David was coming to kill us all. And I helped him to see the truth and how to handle it right. And we're okay now." And he has a heart attack and dies. That's a strong woman. So that's the natural. Then there's 3 that are more sensitive. And when I say they're more sensitive, it doesn't mean they're not strong. They do tend to feel things more intensely. So I always want to talk about myself here because I'm one of the sensitive ones. And I have a secondary. Sometimes if you have 2 personalities, it's as complicated and you have a hard time working through who you are and how to find the balance. And I had that. I was by nature very casual, very carefree, and my mom was completely a sporty natural. But I also had the other one. I had this dramatic in me. And because the 2 are so different, the confrontation between the 2 was a challenge for me. And I think sometimes when you have a big challenge in your life, you're supposed to help other people with it once you figure it out. So anyway, I say that because whenever I hear the word sensitive, I think of the day that my nephew was reaching for something, a little 2-year-old, just barely walking, reaching for something over his head. And I said to him, no, honey, be careful, right? And he just burst into tears, just brokenhearted or something. And my mom looked at me and said, "Honey, you were the same way." And it was like a light went on. How often things happen that to some people would be like, "Abigail, he's got a problem. why'd he do that? Like, I'll fix it. But some of us are more like the dramatic or the romantic or the ingenue, where we feel it so intensely that sometimes the emotions can take control. So anyway, you know, that some people feel heat stronger than others. When, as a hairdresser, I always was surprised by how every single redhead always felt that hot water was too hot. Even if it was warm to my touch, a redhead always said, "Oh, that's too hot." They started learning to just use cool water for a redhead and was happy. But God just made us different. And some of us feel things more intensely. And so we handle things differently. And when you understand that about yourself, it liberates you to go ahead and find the balance it back out. Okay, you're super sensitive or you're super not sensitive. Well, balance it out. Other people are sensitive, so be a little more sensitive. Other people aren't so sensitive, so be a little stronger. So understanding yourself is the key. So the 3 sensitive styles, one of them is the dramatic. I actually use 2 different flowers for the dramatic. They're both exotic flowers, tropical flowers. Well, one type of dramatic is very artsy. A lot of musicians, Lady Gaga, for example, is an artsy dramatic. She wears crazy outfits, but she carries it off. She can do it. Not most of us can. The other one is more sophisticated. So the sophisticated dramatic, it's maybe a model or a actress. A lot of gamines are actresses too, because they're very animated and they speak with their hands, and the dramatic is the same way, like that. Ingenues are also often in the movie field because they are very creative. But the camera loves a tall figure and a lean figure, and the dramatic is usually very tall and lean. Her features are all straight and long. So often we've got the dramatic setting the example for what fashion should be, for how you should be acting. We're watching them on TV. We're watching them on the stages with music. They have a big influence in our life. A lot of people look up to them because they're tall. But very often they have no idea that they have this influence. Very often they're just trying to figure out how to carry off their look. They see themselves, I love this. When you look at the bird of paradise, what do you see? It's very, very pointed. Can you see that? It's very awkward. It's what is that? Is that a flower? That's how a dramatic and a lot of girls feel. Like, what am I? That's not beauty. You know what I mean? That's just, yuck. I hate my nose. I hate my this. I hate my that. That's how we criticize ourselves. And yet, we don't know that people are seeing that. I mean, when you look at this bouquet, do you see awkward, weird, that's an odd shaped flower? No, it's still beautiful. So the dramatic that I use in the Bible is Hannah. Hannah went before, she was her husband's other wife. Confusing, isn't it? Wouldn't you be tormented by your husband's other wife? But she wanted to have a baby. Her rival was having babies, and she just wanted to have a baby. She knew her husband loved her, but she just wanted to have a baby. And her rival was tormenting her and teasing her and giving her a hard time. And I think that a lot of times these girls are a target for being teased, because they hide their they don't hide their emotions. They show that they're very expressive, but because they're so influential and can be very intimidating, people want to knock them down so that they feel better about themselves. And so that's what was happening to this girl. And And what did she do? She went to the Lord and she cried out to him, God, I want a baby. I just want a baby. And she cried so like my nephew, you know, that just brokenheartedness. And then what happens? She's misjudged again. The priest thinks that she's drunk. And that happens to the dramatic a lot too, because she's so expressive that sometimes people are like, whoa, that's a little too much. I'm uncomfortable with this. And she's also private. So because she's not really sharing everything that's going on, they're only seeing her emotions. They totally misjudge her all the time. So these girls can have a very big beauty battle. So the romantic is a luscious beauty, like the orchid. The orchid is just one of those wow kind of beauties, right? She's got a full figure, she's got round eyes, she's got long lashes, she's got full lips, and very often she hits puberty very young. So sometimes, now this happens also for this girl and for this girl. The boobs come early, but this girl is sensitive, so it's not a big deal to these two. But this girl, all of a sudden, she's got girls jealous of her and guys gawking at her, and she's too young to even know how to deal with all that she's feeling. It's just way over her head. And so what happens to a lot of romantics is they shut down, like the orchid. The orchid, when it's out of season, looks like a stem. There's no flowers on it at all. And that's what this girl does. She shuts down. She usually vacillates. She goes back and forth between hiding and thriving because she has this full figure and she's so feminine. And so she's very attractive. And so she's got that power, like I made him look. So she can get very caught up in that and do the striving for beauty. But then what happens? She's treated like a trophy, and then she's hurt, and so she shuts down, and very often she blames her body. It's because I can't stand my body. So she wears big baggy sweatshirts to hide her boobs. She puts on weight, maybe subconsciously, to just try to balance things out. So a lot of times her struggle is with her weight. Who do I use in the Bible in my book? The romantic Tamar. Tamar was raped, and she's got a horrible, sad story. But she overcame. She's the one with ashes for beauty. She took beauty for ashes, and she's a great example of someone that struggled to find the balance. So I'm going to leave you to read that. And then the ingenue is the last style. And actually, when she's young, the romantic is an ingenue, because the romantic has a full figure and a little girl does not. So the ingenue is the French word for young lady, young girl. She's a very delicate girl. She's very much like the baby's breath. Can you see the baby's breath? You know what baby's breath is, right? The little bitty flowers that sort of cover up all the stems. Okay, that's how the ingenue is too. She's a very creative girl who she just sort of pulls everything together. She makes friends get to know each other. She's very creative. She loves to have fun. Everything is all about her friends, and she just cares about them. She's very compassionate. And she gives. Well, she, like the baby's breath, can thrive and grow as big as she's got territory to grow in. The baby's breath is not a delicate flower, even though it looks like it. It's actually a very strong bush. And the only thing that it struggles with overcoming is if it's got acidic soil. The only time it doesn't just grow with great is when it's acidic soil. And that's what I've seen with the ingenue. The ingenue is just so sweet and caring and sensitive that if she's got a father that just takes care of her and protects her and provides for her, she thrives. She becomes, if she stays an ingenue her whole life and doesn't turn into a romantic, she is like the epitome of a grandmother. She's a godly woman. She's like the one that will love on you. She's just absolutely sweetheart. She'll make you gifts. She'll wrap them pretty. She'll make you comfortable. And anyway, but if she's raised by somebody who's not nice to her, she believes that person. So if he abuses her, she's like, he's right, I'm no good. And she might get into cutting or bulimia or anorexia or addictions. I mean, there's all these traps that come at her because she's very sensitive. I mean, any of us can fall into those traps in any style, but this one feels things so intensely that if she believes that a lie about herself, it's going to take her a long time to be talked out of believing that lie. So I love to help those girls stay balanced because the battle is not easy for any of us. We're all going to struggle with something in our lives. But when we can find God's perspective and say, wait a minute, it's okay that I want to be beautiful. It's okay that my phone's ringing when I'm on a video. It's okay. We just got to find balance. You know what I mean? We just got to find balance. So does that bring up a whole bunch of questions for y'all? Is there anything that you like, wait a minute, what am I?
Yeah, well, Catrina, just because you know me the most, I'm trying to get our thumbnail up there. You've known me for a long time. Of course, you married my older brother. So where do you see me fitting into this scenario? And what would be that personality's pitfalls?
Personality pitfalls. Well, we all have something. Kelly, you are a gamine. I think we've done your assessment, and there's no doubt. In fact, I love to think about your whole family. How there's 5 kids in that family, and all of them are gamines, and both parents are gamines. That's not very common. So one thing about that, because you're all strong personalities, I'm sure there were times when you butt heads. But there's maybe that's why there's just so much respect between you all, and you get through, you know what I mean? The main driving force for a gamine is justice. For those of us looking in, like for myself, for a long time, I'd see these gamines and I'd be like scared of them. In fact, most gamines do not want an image assessment. So a lot of times they were only there in a group setting, right? And they do not want me to be telling them what to do, especially in front of other people. My best friend is a gamine, and she presented to me the greatest challenges. One thing very common for a gamine is they want to be a natural. Then they want to be very carefree and keep it all simple. But when they don't put in a little effort with their beauty, they can be very, very plain. Their beauty is not accentuated. It's just kind of, this is who I am. And they're hiding because they're not taking care of themselves. So what I've found with a gamine is, man, even if you want to wear sweatpants, that's fine. Wear bright red ones. You know, you want to wear the same necklace every day, fine. Wear something with color, something that's bold and strong, or animated. You know, you want to wear sweatshirts, good, put a Mickey Mouse on it. He's got black, white, and red. Animated things are great. A lot of gamines will do very fun things in their house, or in their car, whatever. Their way that they would decorate is with a lot of animated kind of things. I like to suggest nautical styles, because that's a little more sophisticated than animated, but nautical around the Cape is very popular. But it's got bold, strong colors that contrast the white with the blue or the white with the red. That's a great look for the gamine. The thing I would recommend, Kelly, knowing you're a coach, and I've seen you at work, girl, and you've got a gift, and you've matured, and God has been using you, and I've been married to your brother for 21 years now, and watching you grow has been very cool. And having such a similar heart in wanting to minister to other women, it's pretty neat. I think you and I are like the iron that sharpens iron. But you have the strength to say it. You have the strength to say, look, you're having this trouble, this is what you got to do. Whereas I may be more careful about how I say that. And I think the balance between the two is a good thing. And I think you and I are both growing up and finding that balance, where I wouldn't used to say it and you would say it just the way it is. Now we're both kind of more like, okay, well, how about, respecting the person and where they're coming from. So.
And now you've met
Karen,
a little bit. Yeah.
Has any of this resonated with you? I wonder if you met Karen a couple of weeks ago. Wow, we're going to have a major thunderstorm here now. The house is shaking.
Good.
Can I get Karen in there? I think that's the best I can do.
It's kind of dark, but I've already spent a little bit of time with Karen. So, Karen, did the romantic resonate with you at all?
I think for me, more so the ingenue. When you first started,
okay.
Did, but then when you got to the end,
Yeah. The ingenue and the romantic are very much alike. They're both very much centered on other people and helping them feel good. The romantic tends to, I call her the glamorous beauty. She needs to have, and the cat eye is a great look on the romantic. But she tends to like have all the senses. She's very sensitive to, is there a candle burning in my house? Is the house all pretty? If I got tea on, and, am I serving them well? Am I hosting them well? And she would want her parties to be very private, just to one or two friends. Is more a cup of tea is her kind of thing. The ingenue is also very much more that way, but she doesn't. She's also very comfortable in a party atmosphere. In fact, she might be the one hosting it, and she might be the one coming up with every party favor and every detail. She's very, very creative. She loves scrapbooking, anything to do with memories, making other people feel good about what they've done, and very sensitive girl. I love her. Now, I'm thinking Natalie's probably got at least part of ingenue in her. And I only met Janet very briefly there. I'm not sure I could do her assessment, but
Natalia.
Natalie, you're a beautiful girl. Beautiful girl, and I would imagine she might have a little ingenue. A little the gamine in her too, which those two are very different. So there may be some times that she'll need to work through making those two work together.
I think her grandmother influenced.
That's always the challenge. You're two different types. Sorry about that. What was that?
I said, I think her grandmother influences that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's all genes. So they all get mixed up. And so I can't remember.
Susan.
I'm sorry. I can't remember. Susan, which one did you resonate with?
I don't know. I was thinking about that girl, Abigail, a lot. Abigail is very sensitive.
Oh, Abigail.
Abigail, like the one like David.
Yep.
I was thinking of that. Wow.
Yeah. The wildflower.
Yeah.
Yep. That was absolutely my first impression of you. The wildflower, I mean, think about a field of weeds with the wildflowers just bringing beauty to it. That's you. The casual beauty, the girl that can stand up in the crowd and say, hey, you know, let's, sorry, I'm moving my face over off of yours. Yeah, just having that stable personality where somebody, you're just like a committed, casual, carefree, fun, but in a simple way, nothing too crazy, nothing too wild. Like a party at her house would be, you know what, grab a paper plate, I've got some hot dogs on the grill. You know, that's her kind of style, and it's okay. Everyone's comfortable around her. Yeah. She's just like easy to be with. But she tends to beat herself up. So I don't know if you do this, but she tends to beat herself up because, you know what, she's not glamorous and she's not exotic, and that's okay. Everyone can't be the same. We want to be a bouquet of beauty. We want to be different styles so that we complement each other. And the casual beauty just makes everyone else feel comfortable around her. So never shun that. The thing I say to be careful of when you're a natural is to stay away from any boy styles because comfort is the most important thing for a natural. And she actually looks really good in jeans and a t-shirt. So I give you permission to wear jeans and a t-shirt. Just kind of, what's that?
I wear jeans and t-shirt.
That's what she wears. Yeah, if you wear a necklace, it's going to be the same one every single day. You might not even take it off when you sleep or shower, and that's okay. Just, you know, find one that works well for you. I can't really see that close, but
yeah.
Just so the main thing is, what's that?
I said she does wear the same necklace all the time. It's a menorah and then a diamond-studded heart.
I even take a shower with it on.
Yeah. And takes a shower.
So the one caution with the natural is when you do that with your clothing, when it's reached its lifespan, then ditch it. That's the one thing, because naturals are so committed and so conservative. They may not spend the money on a new outfit, and this was their favorite one, so they stay on those certain ones. So that's the one thing I like to remind you, that you just like a flower, wildflowers need to be deadheaded. Make sure you just get rid of the ones that are worn out. So yeah.
Well, Catrina, thank you so much. This is really enlightening. Did you enjoy that? Yeah, that was cool. You have an incredible gift, and I love this. And you're so right. Beauty is such a hard thing for us to understand and see it. I love how you said that, you know, that one flower that thought maybe it was awkward, like, am I a flower or not? That winds up being models, and that's what everybody thinks is. Yeah. And I just love how you just said, no, we're all beautiful and we're all created the way the Lord created us. And that's great. So would you like to close in prayer?
I would love to. Well, Lord God, I just thank you for these girls. I thank you for these women. I thank you for what you're doing in their lives and in their hearts. And God, I know we're recording this, and maybe there's somebody that will watch this one day that this would just minister to their heart as well. And I pray, God, that you would just complete the work that you have begun in each of us. Lord, we want to be beautiful. Help us not to feel guilty about that. Lord, you want to be beautiful. You want to be known for your beauty, and we want to be like you. And God, I pray that you would take away any shame that's attached to that, that you would untwist the truths that we have believed, and that we would just walk in truth and believe that this is who you designed us to be, and this is who we're going to be. Whether we're exotic or we're casual, whether we're delicate or we're strong, if we're sensitive, doesn't matter, Lord. Whatever it is that you have created us to be, help us to be that fully. Help us to no longer compare ourselves to others. Lord, help us to just appreciate that there are so many different types of beauty that you have created, and help us to just be the best that we can be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, everybody. Thank you, Catrina.
Thank you.
And have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.